Well, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to the GT Cup Europe Championship on our second stop on a six-race calendar here for this 2025 season. We head to SPA-FRANCORCHAMPS ahead of race 2 now, coming up very, very shortly around the 7.004 kilometre circuit, the iconic SPA-FRANCORCHAMPS with 19 turns, 9 to the right, 10 to the left, clockwise rotation with a 50-minute race in front of us and a driver change window in between as well. The air temperature is kind of stabilised at around about 11 degrees, hasn't risen all that much since this morning. 73% humidity. That's gone down a little bit as well since this morning when we had the overcast conditions here out on track. We had a little bit of rain first thing that of course did transpire into qualifying as well, affecting a few of the lap times that weren't necessarily perhaps as quick as before, but now it's petered off somewhat now, but it's still very much, I would say, overcast across this circuit. Inside the commentary box, I'm back again, George Morgan, alongside me once more, the one and only Ewan Dunlop. Welcome back, Ewan.
Thank you, George. Looking forward to this one. It's been a busy, busy day, but been looking forward to the GT Cup. Of course, plenty of stories to tell. Just keeping up to date on the championships as well, because things have changed since coming into this from Portimao with the race number 1 yesterday. And just having a quick look at qualifying, which I know we'll go through the grid very shortly. Qualifying 2 was the Mertel Motorsport of Matteo Lavisi in the 83. In the Ferrari, doing the Porsches. It's been a very Porsche-heavy competition, this one, and they've been dominating at Spa so far this weekend. However, it was a big red Ferrari that was on pole for race number 2. They're making their way around the grid shortly. This is an official start time of 3 o'clock this race, and I can't see that the cars have left the garage. Oh, they are. They're coming around to the bus stop chicane now. So they will line up in order shortly. We'll have a little run through them. We'll have a look at the championship tables as things stand right now as well. And then we'll have 50 minutes of GT Cup action to end our weekend in Spa for the competition.
Yep, this is, of course, the final race of the weekend. We had one yesterday, which... you know, in Pro-Am class, first and foremost, great result for Laura van den Hengel and Paul Meyer. Yet again, after achieving yet another pole position, Paul Meyer was really on the money after that one. And despite her efforts, Laura van den Hengel unable to take the race win. Eventually, they were taken on by Lars Zanen. Of course, Goncalo Fernandez bringing the stint home across the checkered flag and taking their first win of the season, which has moved them up to 4th in the championship thus far, with Paul Meyer, Laura van den Hengel currently sat 3rd. Our current championship leaders are Ian Rodriguez and Luca Franco, who had a couple of scary moments in the race yesterday and just could not quite figure into top contention, but somehow, some way managed to grind out 8 points from that first race. Now hoping, obviously, for a little bit more this time around. Now, there does have that factor of success handicaps that will, of course, play a part coming into this race. So just to give you a breakdown as to where those will be distributed. Paul Meyer, Laura van den Hengel will serve an extra 10 seconds during the pit stop phase after their win in Pro-Am earlier on in the weekend, of course, on Saturday in race 1. Mertel Motorsport with Manuel Canizares and Fernando Navarrete will serve 5 after their finish in race 1 as well. With GDL Racing's Franvel Bugliotti serving 10, as well as Q1 Track Racing's Goncalo Fernandez and Lars Zanen after their victory yesterday too, and Nicholas van Durendonk, Nathan Brauns after winning in Am as well. They'll also be serving 10 seconds, with Leandro Martins and Dieter Schweppes going through the weekend once again with yet more impressive results. They're going to serve 15, so the most of any team across this grid after winning both in Am but also doing so well in the overall championship, but that might yet not deter them. We'll wait and see whether they can pull the goods out here this weekend. But we arrive at a track that has certainly given plenty in the past in terms of the many times that we have indeed come racing here. Of course, the track in itself has been around since 1921 of August, 103 or so years ago. We've actually only been here in the past since 2019, the very foundation of the championship being born, of course. Nicholas van Durendonk, incidentally, the first race winner around Spa here in the GT Cup Europe Championship alongside Bas Schouten. And not only did he do it once, he did it twice back in race 2 as well. We've had 6 prior outings here, as in 6 rounds, of course, 12 races in total. Well, she's saying that we did have a couple of races. It's not 12, it's 10. It's 10, incidentally. Well, actually, no, it's less than that. It's 9. It's 9 races we've witnessed in the past, I think, looking at it on paper. No, in fact, it's 11. I'm going to correct myself again.
Will you make your mind up?
No, it's going to be 10. I'm going to say 10. But no, extraordinary. No, I like to keep you guessing, folks. But there we have our pole sitters. Matteo Lovisi on pole position, lining up alongside the son of Nicola Lorini, Davide Lorini. They had a tough time yesterday with an issue with the steering of the car, and therefore Matteo Lovisi didn't actually get time out on track in race 1, but now he's back in race 2. Ian Rodriguez and Luca Franca. Rodriguez taking the helm for the opening stint. They arrive in as championship leaders after accruing 8 points in yesterday's race. They took a victory as well to open up the season at Portimao in race 1-2. We also have Luca De Marchi, who's currently getting set ready to go again out on track, just receiving final words of wisdom from our championship staff as well. Camel Perry and Florentin Sescu lining up as well in fifth for the Romanian outfit, looking for a big start to this race. They are the leaders in AM on the grid at the moment. Just to note, Stinas Longin starting on the front row alongside Matteo Lovisi. They are leading the Pro-Am classification. And then further back we have Goncalo Fernandez, race winner back in race 1 yesterday. Obviously, as a result, they will be serving a handicap of 10 seconds as a result. As we now move downwards to number 22, Pietro Armani, fresh out of single-seater racing back in 2023, moving into Porsche Cup machinery, and now here with us in the GT Cup Europe Championship, looking for a big run, starting from where he is in 7th place. Laura van den Hengel will be taking the start this time around, much like she did back at Portimao, but we will be hoping for greater success after being an innocent bystander in a big crash that occurred to wipe their car out. They've now got a brand new car this weekend that has certainly proven to be working in fine fettle after winning in Pro-Am once again for the 2nd time this season in yesterday's race. And then in behind them we have Eugenio Pisani, of course, lining up as well ahead of this 50-minute extravaganza that we have coming up too. As we take a look as the drone takes us through the starting grid, as we see the rest of the order stacked up in behind. We can also see Alex Ryman on his return to the championship. Not a full season entry, but great to have him back. Of course, a former full-time driver over the last couple of years. We now witness the Estonian coming here to compete here at Spa. He's been taking his competition into the Porsche Carrera Cup Benelux as of late. And once again, looking to take on the GT Cup Europe competition as well to suit the McLaren Artura as well, listed at the back end of the order with Klaus Heilsig. As we now take a look at the highlights from race 1 yesterday, it was indeed Paul Meyer who led right at the very get-go, getting a very good start to this opening proceeding of this race. Met with the 23 as well. That was the golden colour, the bronze-coloured Porsche, just losing stead coming through the Jackie Expend. Eventually, though, in would come Paul Meyer after getting that early lead off to the perfect start. They would, of course, then have the driver change window with Laura van den Hengel taking the helm. We then had the likes of Leandro Martins and Dieter Schweppes going wheel to wheel. Giancarlo Fernandez taking the 2nd stint, of course, for their Q1 team. We then witnessed, of course, Dieter Schweppes, Leandro Martins taking over for the 2nd stint. He ran wheel to wheel as well with the 47 Porsche as well as they made their way through the middle sector. And then Giancarlo Fernandez was just on a mission, was he not? Overtaking Laura van den Hengel in the final moments before then, as they came out of the final corner to make their way up towards the line. As the safety car came out late in the day, they would then go onwards to take the checkered flag, and Giancarlo Fernandez marching to victory alongside Lars Zane to take their first win of the season. This is how the championship now fares, with Ian Rodriguez at the top of the shop with 31 points against their name. 6 points now ahead of Ludovico Longoni and Pietro Armani, with Paul Meyer and Laura van den Hengel currently occupying 3rd place. Lars Zane and Giancarlo Fernandez in 4th, and Leandro Martins, Dieter Schweppes in 5th place. So race 2 about to get underway. The formation lap will very shortly get in full swing as they do creep away from the starting grid lineup. Of course, remember, rolling start ahead of the 50 minutes that we have in front of us here to cap off the GT Cup Europe weekend. So they now drift down through towards turn 1 and get themselves into an orderly fashion. This is the final moment before they can, of course, heat up those tyres. We'll take you through the starting grid here ahead of this final race of the weekend. Matteo Lovisi in first place, starting from pole position, gets his first race start in a car, lining up alongside Steeners Long in second place on the front row for ProAm, and then Ian Rodriguez in third. Luca Demarchi in fourth on the second row of the grid. Move to the third row, Florence Sescu lines up fifth with six for Giancarlo Fernandez after winning yesterday. He'll be opening up the stint this time as opposed to bringing it home. Pietro Armani lines up in seventh in the Porsche 992 alongside Laura van den Hengel in her 992 GT3 Cup car as well. Eugenio Pisani in ninth, and then alongside him is Nathan Brawns. Lining up for Q1 track racing. Of course, Van der Donk could be coming up later on as well. Franvel Bugliotti 11th on the sixth row alongside Antoine Berberic Martini as well for Mertel Ferrari. Next up, H. de Mello in 13th. Rodrigue Gillian as well in their guest appearance here for the Belgian outfit. 14th here in the Lamborghini Huracan Super Trofeo GT3. 15th as well for Gianluca Giorgi there as well with Fernando Navarrete on the 8th row, lining up for Mertel in the Ferrari 488 Challenge. Alex Ryman in 17th for EST1 Porsche with Peter Furter. We welcome him back as well in 18th place in the 56. Then in 19th place, Davide Scanici will hand across over to, of course, Fabio Babini later on. We've got Giacomo Giabergia lining up alongside him in 20th on the 10th row. And then onwards to Riccardo Romagnoli in 21st, Mauro Trentin in the other Ferrari 488 Challenge Evo, lining up 22nd for Mertel Ferrari. Gianluigi Piccioli down in 23rd place with Luciano Privatello in 24th. And then we take a look further back as we peel away from the Lamborghini down to Leandro Martins in 25th. Lines up alongside Klaus Halsig towards the rear in the McLaren Artura, the sole one on the grid, with Leo Reinbeek representing the Ferrari 488 contingent as well, starting from plumb last ahead of this 50-minute race. Formation lap now in full swing, and as we look ahead, obviously conditions stabilising at the moment. Plenty of fans watching on in the main grandstand. Looking forward to another feast of GT Cup racing as they now look to put in the final preparations prior to us going green for the final time this weekend. Matteo Lovisi on the front row with Steeners Long in. Ewan Dunlop, how do you see this one faring as we hit go time?
I'm just going to play it really safe and go very entertaining, George. It always is. It never complains. Championship leaders Luca Franca and Ian Rodriguez. Second row of the grid in the car number 91. They are in the FEMS team Porsche 992, of course, in the silver, new silver competition. And of course, in front of them, Steeners Longen and Matteo Lovisi, who have also done so well so far in this championship. Who is going for the win? So earlier was Zayden Fernandez yesterday, as you've just said. They also got a fourth place in Porto, so looking for their second podium of this championship in race number 4. And the cars making their way around halfway around our formation lap thus far. Of course, a rolling start as ever in the GT Cup.
Yep. And as they now head down through towards the final sector and then begin to put in the preparations ahead of the race starts, as we ride on board here with the SMC Motorsport McLaren, the number 69 that sits currently second from last in 26th place, Klaus Halsig behind the wheel. Of course, he'll be handing over later on as well to his teammate and colleague Tommy Pintos, who had a very good start to the race yesterday. Was really trying to march his way through the field. So Halsig taking the opening stint will then hand across, I'm sure, relatively earlier on, or early on in the stint that will come up during the driver change period. That will happen in around 21 minutes time or so. We'll hand over to Tommy Pintos, who will look to bring the car home in a good position. Bear in mind, they will not suffer any handicaps due to results in the previous race. So we'll see what they can make of it as we now watch as the cars trundle their way down through towards the bus stop chicane, as we now ride on board with Ludovico Longoni and Pietro Armani's Porsche. And now Leandro Martins, Dieter Schweppes, who are featuring towards the back of the order. Leandro Martins with a little bit of work to do, but will, of course, be handing over to Dieter Schweppes. They do have a 15-second handicap to serve through the driver change window, so they're going to be in the pits for quite some time in comparison to all the other cars. They'll be in there longer than anybody, as now they file out in two groups One on the left, one on the right. Levisi on the left, Longin on the right. Ferrari meets Porsche as they put pedal to the metal. And it's go, 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 go. Great start for Matteo Levisi. Stina's Longin getting hoovered up now by Rodriguez. Ian Rodriguez at the inside, as well as they now creeping people around. Luca De Marchi around the outside in the 80. Ferrari as well, and there's a car off into the gravel. It would seem taking a very difficult line through, and Leandro Martins has moved up a few places in his own right as they now go side by side through towards Eau Rouge and Radion. Laura van den Hengel also looking to gain places as well. She's looking to draw swords with Eugenio Pisani, and I think she might have managed to get Pietro Armani as well. Great move from Laura van den Hengel, and has managed to move herself up more so inside this top 10, and now sits above Armani in 7th place as though they fan out once more. Longin looking to the outside of Levisi. He holds position. Armani now once again drawing swords with van den Hengel, but van den Hengel securing that place and moves up to 7th.
Fantastic start for so many drivers. Matteo Levisi, absolutely sensational round the first course. La Source up through Eau Rouge, along the Camel Straight, and they go into Les Combes. Stina's Longin all over the back, of course, in the Pro-Am competition, whereas Matteo Levisi and his teammate in the silver, so not racing each other directly, but of course overall in competition. Florentina Rescue in the AM competition, 6th overall. Fantastic start, and like you said, van den Hengel from 9th place up into 7th off the grid.
Yeah, we're currently running on board Pietro Armani at the moment, trying to give chase after Laura van den Hengel in the Burgos Motorsport, powered by, obviously, HWM. Looking to get a big result this time around. Obviously, Paul Meyer will take the second stint as now Stina's Longin comes under threat from Luca De Marchi as they come through the Le Fanier chicane. Oh, my goodness me! That's Laura van den Hengel. She's off, and you can just see there's some flames poking out to the rear of the Porsche car, obviously just getting slightly overheated. Coming into the Le Fanier chicane. That is really unfortunate for Laura van den Hengel. Half the car is in the gravel trap as well. Is she going to be able to get that out? Because remember, of course, these cars, to be fair to her credit, she's making it happen, and she's done it.
Wow.
Well done, Laura van den Hengel, getting it restarted again as she makes her way back out onto the track, just flashing those hazards to make sure that everyone's aware that she's rejoined the circuit. But that is really unfortunate for Laura van den Hengel, who had a great start to the race, getting past Matteo Levisi, Pietro Armani. Matteo Levisi leading the race at the moment with Stina's Longin all over his tail. Luca De Marchi down in 30, and Rodriguez then further back as we now ride on board with Armani now, who, as a consequence of van den Hengel losing the car, 7th place now in his grasp. So now make their way out of turn 1. There's Antoine Burbrick Martini further back in 12th, chasing after H. De Mello. Franvel Bugliotti into 10th too. There's the 44. Porsche also looking to move its way through. That's H. De Mello. We're seeing on screen is now Levisi goes hunting, but he's going to come under pressure now from Stina's Longin, who's going to be packing a punch in his Porsche this time around. And obviously, bear in mind, we'll be handing over to Nicholas Salins later on into the race, and the driver change period now works out. But that Ferrari punch now starting to work better for Levisi in a straight line, and he now retakes that race lead back from Longin. And now indeed here comes Luca De Marchi all over the back of Stina's Longin now this time as well. Back they come down through towards Rivage. Is there going to be wheel to wheel heading down through towards Rivage this time? There certainly will be, and this time it's the combination of Rodriguez and Fernandez coming together, as well as De Marchi running well and truly out wide. That's opened the door as well for the cars in behind as well. Giancarlo Fernandez, I think, has moved up into 4th place. Great move. Or 3rd place even.
Action, absolutely. Oh, a bit of a touch on the back there. Matteo Levisi and Stina's Longin connected, and that is going to be a puncher.
I did wonder. It looked like there might have been a blowout.
It's a front left blowout, it is. Yes. Surely, yes. Oh, my goodness.
It looks like one. He's just making his way off track. That looks like a clear puncture to me, unfortunately.
And there's something wrong with the back right-hand side of Levisi as well, is there? Yeah. A little bit hanging off. That's where the connection took place. It's obviously not going to affect him, but more superficial than anything.
Well, Luca De Marchi now has moved up into 2nd as a result as well. So unfortunately for Stina's Longin, that is him out of the lead contention. Really dramatic moments in this race. Giancarlo Fernandez moved his way up into 3rd, all but briefly. It was just a crazy moment coming through the segment through the Jackie Expend as we now ride on board here with Pietro Armani, looking to try and dig a little deeper to try and join this lead fight, and has managed to work his way up into 5th. Here comes now Luca De Marchi around the outside here of Matteo Levisi, and De Marchi hits the front. Luca De Marchi He is now in the lead of the race here in silver class. It's a silver contest inside the top 5 at the moment. And Giancarlo Fernandez back in the third, but he's being now moved up upon by Rodriguez, who now marches up his inside. Matteo Lovisi losing a feast of places. 2 lost in one corner, make that 3, as now it looks like he's going to lose out to the likes of Armani as well. So a massive moment as Fernandez and Rodriguez go side by side through Eau Rouge.
There's got to be more damage than it looks on the car of Lovisi, because you don't just lose 5 places just like that, do you? Where's he even gone? Oh, he's going backwards.
He's gone backwards.
He has gone backwards. There's
Lovisi.
something massively wrong with that car. And also, just to point out as well, Stinas Longin also going backwards. He is limping round, barely halfway around the track. So the front 2 on the front row of the grid, early doors, both going in the wrong direction.
And some swapping as well between Rodriguez and Armani. Armani up into third as well. Fernandez now moves up essentially into second place, holds that position. There's Armani now, a tap in the rear there from Rodriguez, this time around a friendly tap on this occasion. Alex Ryman has drifted himself forwards. We've got a huge gaggle of cars now joining this lead battle, or at least the P2 battle at this moment in time, though Fernandez does have a nice advantage of approximately 2 tenths. That might have extended to 4 tenths in the last few moments that we have witnessed it unfold. But also Florentin Sescu, 6th place at the moment. He's got Birbrick Martini on his tail in the Ferrari as well for Mertel Motorsport, as now he looks down the inside. Here comes Birbrick, a look up the inside of Tincescu as they come through towards the Lafanier chicane, but unable to get the move done on Florentin Sescu, who still leads the AM race.
What an absolutely ridiculous start. More gravel being flicked up to the air. Here's the replay then. Which one are we watching? Is the Van Hengel going off when she spins? Yes, she does.
Yep.
Maybe a touch on the back, but into the gravel. Does get it going again, so she will be rolling around at the back of the pack, but she's not out of this race.
I can tell you that the incident involving cars 53 and 91, that is Giancarlo Fernandez, and the 91 belonging to Ian Rodriguez, that was apparently done off track at turn 3. That's been noted by race control, and there's the puncture, the suspected puncture here for Stinas Longin in this opening stint, just going off track and then rejoining the circuit, obviously just waiting for a clear window so that they can rejoin the track and then come into the pits to obviously probably get that tyre change. But we will, of course, let you know as to what the situation is. I haven't seen their car register going into the pits as of yet. I might be wrong, but I haven't seen anything on the timing screen to suggest
Lovisi
that.
as well? I can't see Lovisi on the timing board either.
Lovisi at the moment is down in 21st right now, just currently ahead of Gianluigi Piccioli. But a heartbreaking day for Lovisi. It's been a really bad weekend for them, as now Antoine Berberit gets past Florentin Sescu on the run-up through towards Eau Rouge. Ed Radion, the RL1 Racing Porsche, forfeiting. That's 6th place, and it goes to Birbrick Martini, and it's now a top 6 in silver at the moment. Ooh. But some now movement further back as Bugliotti, H. Mello as well, looking to go wheel to wheel now, and also further back Nathan Braun's coming into this. Let's take a look at a replay here now as well. This is the 19 meeting the 43, and my goodness me.
Yellow flag at turn 1.
Yeah, that's Riccardo Romagnoli in the 43 Porsche, who was lost out there as a result of the contact we've seen there. So now watch them head down through towards Rivage once more. There's Antoine Berberit. Further back, there's the 57 Porsche of Nathan Braun's that's been right in the thick of the action as well, with H. Mello and Franvale Bugliotti, Peter Furter. Then further back too, there's the 47. Also making its way around the track at the moment. Down through Puon. The 33 of Franvale Bugliotti keeping H. Mello at bay for now, as we stand with 41 minutes remaining. Driver change window opening up in around 12 minutes time, just over 12 minutes, just mere seconds, as they now come through the Lafanier chicane, down through towards Campus and Stavolo. That's the 27. It's making its way through. In fact, yeah, that's Roderick Gillion. Their safety car has been deployed. So a safety car is indeed out. It looks like there's a car stopped right at the top, the 43. Yes, it is, the 43.
That's La Source.
That's the La Source. So, yeah, our track map is saying that the car is stuck at the top where turn 5 and 6 is. That is not true, everyone. They are down at La Source at turn 1. That's Riccardo Romagnoli. That was the contact we saw earlier on. Of course, they came into the back of the Ferrari that we witnessed as well. When they come up to the pinch point, does happen, doesn't it, Ewan?
All cars to enter the pit lane. So they'll go through the new pit lane and onto the old one to get past La Source. Very rare, because the car was making movement, but clearly just can't get away. So safety car deployed. They should have gone in through the pit lane.
Doesn't look like they actually got the message in time by the looks of it, because they've all gone around the typical conventional method. So the 43 is still stagnant there. Riccardo Romagnoli has come to a halt.
Now that should be a pretty quick recovery.
You would have thought so. I mean, Stina's long in. I mean, he's right by the pit lane for starters. So even if it doesn't get going again, they can of course just bring it in. There is Stina's long in the pits at the moment. The car getting looked at. That looks like, based on what we're seeing, that could be a retirement unless they release it again and allow it to form up to behind the safety car. But regardless, they will be a lap down as it stands. Maybe more so, in fact, 2 laps down. Currently on our race leader, Luca De Marchi. But all of this eating into that driver change window period. Great news, though, for Laura van den Hengel, who, after the spin, can now recover to the back with the safety car now looking to unfold, and she'll be swapping out for Paul Meyer. Now, with all this going on, remember, we do have some driver change handicaps that will be outlaid as well. Now, unfortunately for Burgers Motorsport, they will have to serve a 10-second handicap, success handicap, after winning in Pro-Am yesterday. So they will gain nothing from the pit stop here on this occasion. In fact, they're more likely to lose something. But with Paul Meyer behind the wheel, we know how fast he is. He went fastest in FP1 ahead of the weekend, and went fastest as well, taking pole for a second time in succession as well, ahead of race 1 too. And we shouldn't be surprised at that. Paul Meyer, an exceptional driver, and especially off the back of what we saw back at Portimao, where it all began. But we now watch the cars descend downhill. 38 minutes and 28 to go, and it's De Marchi on top.
And De Marchi and his teammate, they've yet to score points in this championship. No points at Portimao. Didn't finish the race yesterday. So at the very front step of this grid is not a place they're used to so far in 2025. However,
important to know that obviously De Marchi is a champion as of recent times as well in the Italian GT 2024 Pro-Am GT Cup Endurance, actually taking the championship with 1 win and 3 podiums and a pole, and finishing runner-up in the Sprint GT Cup as well back in 2021, taking part in the Campionato Italiano Gran Turismo GT Cup side 2021, first in that championship with 5 wins, 9 podiums and 2 poles. Nearly everything he's touched has turned to gold. 5 wins and 9 podiums. Yeah, he's got an incredible record in previous championships or previous escapades. So has a great opportunity to obviously hustle in and put the car in a good position for Simone Patrinicola, who also has achieved great results after finishing 3rd in the Italian GT Pro-Am Sprint Championship last year. Also taking part in the GT Cup Endurance, winning that one as well with 1 win and 3 podiums. So he's got good records under his belt as well. So we could yet see these two perhaps delivering the goods this time around, and they're not going to be faced with a penalty here either. So you could say they're in the pound seats at the moment.
Safety car coming in this lap, making their way around the track. Just got a few more corners to go, just coming around Stavolo and Corpo Frere. So within about 30 or 40 seconds, we will see Luca De Marchi decide whether he holds back the field or goes very, very early. We've seen a combination of both tactics across the course of the season thus far. So De Marchi will lead Fernandez, Armani, Rodriguez, Ryman and Berberek Martini, all in the silver class. Then come 4 AM competitors to round out the top 10 overall through the first 24 minutes. Now, the driver change opens in 7 minutes' time. You will see plenty dive in immediately when that opens. But here we go, back underway.
Yep.
Restarting for the second time.
Pedal to the metal for the second time in this race. De Marchi takes us through towards turn 1. Fernandez, Armani, Rodriguez, Ryman, Berberek Martini. Then comes Tedescu, Vale Bugliotti, Nathan Brawns, Giabergia dropping back as well, as now we see a spinner, and that's why Giacomo Giabergia is indeed round. We witnessed him toppling down the table. Rodrigue Gillian also dropping down into 21st as well, and that's why as well, and that is the car that is a guest entry this weekend with the Lamborghini Huracan Super Trofeo, guest appearing here in his home race here at SPA-FRANCORCHAMPS. Now as Pietro Armani has a look to the inside of Fernandez. might be more defensive than anything else against Rodriguez in behind, who currently leads the championship at the moment alongside Luca Franca, in a car taking a very interesting line coming over as they use the escape road coming out of the Lecom section.
That car's still on track at turn 18, just at the start of the pit straight.
Could get another safety car here.
We might get another one immediately, unless that car can move. On our timing screen, still sat in the middle of the track.
57 as well, making its way through. Nathan Brauns takes the lead away from Florin Tinsescu. Great move from Nathan Brauns coming out of the Jackie X bend, took a very different line in comparison to Tinsescu. And now as they make their way down through Puon, it's now Nathan Brauns with the lead, with a chance to enlist both he and Nicholas van Dierendonck as race winners here once again this weekend.
So they're stringing their way around the Intercampus and Stavolo. I'm just waiting for a notification because that car is still on track just outside the bus stop chicane. There are only 3 turns from it. Maybe it's been shifted just to the side so they can get past. We're going to find out very, very shortly.
Yeah, tough visit for Tinsescu as well, because he's lost out to Vale Bugliotti as well. So that is ProAm that is AM, should I say, P3 right now. What's really baffling is that the highest ProAm at the moment is Peter Furter, and he's all the way down in 11th place. There's a sea of AMs in front of him, and also a sea of silvers, as you'd expect.
They come towards the bus stop chicane. Oh no, that is, yeah, there we are. And we're going to find out where that car number 67 is sitting. It's well out the way. Well done to all of our marshals and team on the ground. Great work once again. Tamaki leads by 1.3 seconds. Fernandez, Armani and Rodriguez all chasing towards into La Source.
Yeah, wheel to wheel coming through turn 1 between many. There's plenty more of that to come as well as we ride on board here with Pietro Armani on his return to GT Cup Europe action. It's not over yet, though. Still plenty to be decided. If anything, Rodriguez looks like the main danger in the 91 Porsche that we're currently seeing now rise over the crest. He is in the wheel tracks of Pietro Armani, who's got to have his wits about him here. Giancarlo Fernandez, who sits in second, may also fall victim here as a flash of the lights comes in from Rodriguez as well. Current championship leader not opting for a move here for that on-track P3 just yet, but Demarchi takes them round, and he's broken away by a whole second now as they venture through Malmedy. Peter Furter, representing Pro-Am class, now jumping H. de Mello now and moving overall through the circuit, up now into P10. A very uncomfortable exit, though, this time around from what looked to be Giancarlo Fernandez. So Pietro Armani's going to try his luck around the outside. Coming through Rivage, could not quite plumb for the move just yet, but through Jackie X, they will remain as they are.
Yeah, just touched the ground and lost a little bit of speed, and Pietro Armani nearly took advantage of Giancarlo Fernandez. Couldn't quite get it done. All 3 of these in the front 3 leading in the silver class. Also, of course, got Rodriguez behind with Ryman and Antoine Patrick Martini. All 6 racing, but getting away. Demarchi now 1.01 seconds and a train of 5 behind him.
Yeah, and Alex Ryman also forming up in behind as well. He is now one of the main dangers, I would say, Alex Ryman. Remember, not having to serve any handicap, I don't believe, through the course of this race, so will have a great chance to pull himself to the front end of the order. We welcome back Alex Ryman, the young Estonian, who's fighting his own battle in prior seasons of the GT Cup Europe. This is only going to be one stop on the calendar for him as he continues his Porsche Carrera Cup Benelux run at the moment. As we watch as we run on board here with the LMR Motorsport of Leandro Martins, I can tell you that the car 47 has been asked to report to race control immediately. That's the manager of car 47 has been asked to report to race control. So major claims being made. Now that is Alex Ryman's car, the EST1 Racing Porsche. So they're going to be having a conversation, I think, around him by the sounds of it, as they race down through towards turn 1. Another look this time here from Pietro Armani, this time on Giancarlo Fernandez, and I think he might have sold the dummy here on Fernandez, who still retains that P2, but Armani asking those major questions as he now sprints up through towards Eau Rouge and Raidillon. Just look at the gap that Demarchi has managed to throw out now, 2.3, Ewan.
Absolutely flying it around. Also an incident involving cars 47 and 55 at turn 5 noted. That is Eugenie Pisani, and also, who's in the 43? Check that just in a second, because look at this, towards the end of the Kemmel Straight, some flashing of lights, let me through, but no, Fernandez still leads sees the trail of 6 cars, but it will go round on the inside, just outside the track, regains the position. Yes, he does, takes one more spot. That is Ryman, Rodriguez and Babici Martini, all fighting at the back of this little school of cars.
Nathan Braun's, who actually took the off-track excursion, of course, leading the AM contingent at the moment. He'll be throwing across to Nicholas van Durendonk later on during the driver change period, who actually won here back in this championship's inception back in 2019 as well. So some very strong, fond history here for Nicholas van Durendonk. Look forward to seeing him back in action now very, very shortly as we ride on board here with Pietro Armani coming down the iconic Pouon left-hander. The descent after going all the way uphill through Kemmel. Oh my goodness, no! That is the 57 of Nathan Braun's. And that car does look a little bit pig-sick at the moment. Coming slowly, no indicators of a puncture as far as I can see. Must be something else going on with that car, but bad news. Again, cursing of cars. Here out here on track by the commentator.
It's crazy. Got to just point out as well, Lauren van den Hengel back up to 17th from the back row after her incident very early on lap number 1. So making her way through the field. She'll hand over, of course, to Paul Meyer. Incredibly fast Paul Meyer in the second stint. That opens in 10 seconds.
Certainly does, 10 seconds time. Now, who plums for the garage first? Obviously, DeMarchi, I would imagine, will go a little bit longer. Obviously, on his stint, Goncalo Fernandez, who has been very strong this weekend. Remember, race winners in race 1. They've opted not for the pit lane.
They've just missed it, yeah.
They certainly have just missed it, but who isn't going to miss it? Who is going to pump for the champ? Leandro Martins, I'm looking at you. Are you going to go for a pit stop early on? No. Dieter Schweppes will not join us just yet. Remember, they've got to serve 15 seconds of penalties here ahead of the rest of the race now as they make their way. Oh, yes, they are. I'm sorry, they're taking the other pit entrance. I do apologise. Remember, we're on the old pit lane
as well, yeah.
Here for this championship. So a little bit different to the others that we are running this weekend. In they come. And the driver change window is on. So Ryman is in. So is Berbrick Martini. H. de Mello. Indeed, Leandro Martins comes in. So does Peter Furter. And Gillian also in the box as well, as we know, suffering that damage. Navarrete is in the pits as well. So is Levisi. So a few more cars having troubles of their own. That's not necessarily a driver change, everybody, but a very, very busy pit lane now this time, as now Dieter Schweppes gets strapped in to the LMR Motorsport car. And they'll be looking to head straight back out, of course, contenders and winners of the AM Crown last season, but also looking to the overall crown as well. In comes Laura van den Hengel. Paul Meyer getting set to jump straight back into the machine this time around, looking to effectively recover what was lost. But remember, they will be serving 10 seconds of handicap on top, and no one will be serving more than LMR Motorsports, Dieter Schweppes and Leandro Martins. They're serving 15 additional seconds of handicap.
And that is racing in class. Remember, they're currently 5th in class. Paul Meyer will take over. Yes, that penalty, a couple of places to pick up. That's the number 78.
Babini.
That is Babini. It's in the Tsunami RT. But DeMarchi, we've not had anybody in the top 8, I believe, come in yet. Or at least the top 6 silvers, so they'll go around one more time. They're currently making their way around campus, so half a lap remaining to see if they decide to make a move at the second time of asking, or will some of these guys leave it light to the very bitter end. There will be only 6 minutes left of the driver changeover already, so you've got maybe 3 laps, and right in front of us, the number 57 just limping around. That, of course, is the Q1 track racing of Nathan Braun. So finally making its way towards the pit lane.
Yeah, the former leader of the AM class. Now, unfortunately, that comes to an end, and now limping towards the old pit lane. We now rode on board here with Pietro Armani, looking to chase after those in front. Currently sat 3rd at the moment, hasn't yet taken their driver change stop. Goncalo Fernandez in front of him at the moment. Leader at the moment, though, still Luca DeMarchi. Unchanged right now, no movement from our leader. As it stands, he's going to go down for, we'll go around for another lap at the very least. We've got 5 minutes left until the driver change period comes to an end. So you get the vibe that maybe some will consider pulling off the pit stop maybe on this lap. Maybe you'll get 1 or 2 maybe chance of their arm on the lap after, but I would say that's very rare, as we now watch as the McLaren Artura now allows the 53 to go on by, and Pietro Armani wants the same grace as well, but isn't afforded it, unfortunately. And unfortunately, after taking a difficult line, now rejoins after taking the off-track excursion at Les Combes. And there might be a warning sent his way for that. Obviously, just taking the totally wrong line, and therefore having to take that interesting line, and Rodriguez trying to move his way through as well, but currently locked in behind this Tommy Pintos-driven McLaren Artura at the moment. They're just trying to lap him at the moment, but bear in mind, none of these guys in the top 6, or dare I say, here in the top 5 anyway, have yet to actually take their stop.
So Ian Rodriguez taking an interesting line across the dirt, but he's taken some good lines because he's just set a new fastest lap on his previous, a 2:22.486. Here's a replay on board with the number 22. And
I think that was an intention of getting the overtake done on the lapped car. The McLaren Artura just left it far too late in the day. I think he was trying to catch up and stay with Giancarlo Fernandez, I think, because he knows that he's in this overall P2 battle at the moment, and not to mention Luca De Marchi further up the road. Bear in mind, they are race leaders for now, but will that be the case when Patrinicola steps into the car, when the driver change unfolds for them as well? Big question marks as to whether they come in on this lap. We've got 3 minutes and 22 until the driver change period comes to an end.
I think they'll have to, because they've got 20 seconds or so to get round to the pits. It's a 2:20 lap. They might just make it round again. I think they will just make it round again. We're going to find out in the next corners. They'll come round La Source. The pit lane will be to their right-hand side. Some will dive in, some will carry straight on. I get the feeling that Luca De Marchi will carry on straight past this pit lane. And we're going to find out right now. No, he's dived in,
he's coming
as
in.
has Fernandez.
Yeah, the sea of them now coming into the pits. So here we go. Luca De Marchi, Fernandez, as well as what looks to be Rodriguez. The only driver that has stayed out in that contingent is Pietro Armani. He's opted to remain out on track, looking to overcut De Marchi, Fernandez and Rodriguez, but he needs to ensure that he gets in before the driver change period ends. He should do, obviously, with it being a 2:22 lap of the realm.
He'll make it by about 10 seconds.
Yeah, he should do. There's 2 minutes and 22 now remaining on the driver change period window, so it should allow him enough time to get into the pits, but I would imagine he is going to be going hell for leather in a bid to try and maximise the time gain, but he's got Tommy Pintos for company. If you remember, he, of course, already exercising his driver change period, so now looking to move his way up the field.
Yeah, he would want to. He's got clean air in front. That's exactly what he wanted. No traffic in front of him, but just has to keep one eye behind because he's going to be defending the position as well. Don't want any connections over the next 2 minutes, and then we're going to find out where all these boys and girls come out. Of course, some of them with their handicaps to serve, and that will shake things up most definitely. Car number 22 noted for leaving the track and gaining position. That is our on-track leader, Pietro Armani. So what will come of that? A steward's decision on car number 47. 10-second penalty to be added to the race time. 47 is Alex Ryman, currently lying in 6th in the silver class, but he is one of those drivers to have had a pit stop. So where will that make things?
Well, just look at this, Simone Patrinicola now behind the wheel of his car after Luca De Marchi's opening stint. They will retain their net lead scenario at the moment. Eugenio Pisani into second as well. There is the car number 1 belonging to Antoine Berberic Martini. Now, I think they've already managed to muscle in on their stop. He dived down the inside of Alex Ryman, coming down in towards the... I think that's Alex Ryman anyway, in the 47, it certainly is, coming through the bus stop chicane and exiting outwards. But now he watches our net race leader, we believe, Simone Patrinicola, ahead of Luca Franca, who takes over from, of course, Rodriguez, who did the opening stint. These are our championship leaders. But looking to topple Patrinicola as it stands, but he is a very pacey competitor that has had Pro-Am success in prior GT championships. Into the pits comes Pietro Armani, and Ludovico Longoni will get set to jump into the car in his stead. Of course, remember, he is yet to take his stop. Of course, we did witness Tommy Pintos right on his tail, but obviously Pintos was a lap down, incidentally. He'd already taken his stop, so it should relatively balance out, but obviously still a lot of work for Tommy Pintos to do. Team managers for car 22 and 27 to report to race control immediately. That's Ludovico Longoni, and also the 27 also of Rodrigue Gillian. So that is something race control has asked those drivers as well. The team managers for them to be called out. The car number 2767 as well is under investigation after the incident turn 18 as well. That's Rodrigue Gillen. That was the big impact we saw earlier on. So that's That one is still being discussed at race control at the moment. The 67 of Giacomo Giabergia seemingly still out on track, not in the pits any longer, or certainly not at all now, as Longoni and Zerbi now look to serve their stops. Patrinicola, of course, our on-track net leader.
This is the moment now. Who's going to come out in front?
Let's see certainly how this unfolds. Patrinicola now making his way uphill, and it looks like that Longoni is going to have enough of an advantage. Just the difference between going out a lap later as opposed to everyone else, and he has managed to withstand the fight and hold on to the lead. He has gained the overall lead now through the pit stop phase. It's Ludovico Longoni ahead of Simone Patrinicola. Luca Franca in third place on track as well, as they now storm up through towards Lacombe.
That is how you undercut on a driver changeover. Absolutely perfection from the ZRS Motorsport team. Armani handing over to Longoni in the Porsche 992 silver class. And dropping to second place, of course, is Simone Patrinicola after being taken over from Luca De Marchi in the Ferrari 296. There's a Mercedes Ferrari 1-2, but look at Franca in third place, just 0.6 of a second behind. Then Burbridge Martini, a second Ferrari in the top four. Ryman and Zane and Porsches make out 5 and 6. Bobini leading the Pro-Am, De Mello leading the Am.
Yeah, inside this top three, we have got the top two in the championship at the moment. Ian Rodriguez, Luca Franca. Of course, Rodriguez doing the opening stint. Franca currently sat in third. The championship leaders coming into race two, looking to close down on Ludovico Longoni. Second at the moment after taking back-to-back podiums after a victory in race two back at Portimao. They both shared victories in the first round of the season. And now looking to come here at SPA-FRANCORCHAMPS after not nestling in a single points finish in race one earlier on in the weekend. But it definitely looks like roles reversed this time for Longoni. This time they're looking for maximum points and their second win of the campaign, which not only will gain them a solid advantage, it will bridge that gap that is currently on show between the top two in that title race. Of course, Rodriguez and Franca, as opposed to Longoni and Armani, scoring in every single round this far, not just the 15 points for the win that they had at Portimao, but also subsequent 8 points as well for fourth place finishes that they have pulled together in race two at Portimao and race one at Spa, as we watch them hustle down through the final corners this time around. That's the 911 of Dieter Schweppes, now looking to the outside of Franvel Bugliotti. That's a move for 10th place as we're currently seeing it. It looks like now we've got more action unfolding because Luca Franca is under pressure from Antoine Berberic Martini. If anything now, Ludovico Longoni is starting to stretch the advantage right at the very top, and now Franca is going to come under some very distinct pressure. This time from Antoine Berberic Martini. Alex Ryman also queuing up in behind this, as well as the Ferrari moves up alongside. Now that is, if I'm not mistaken, Simone Patrinicola in the 80. Yes, it is. Currently sat down in behind after his pit stop. Now situated, I'm not sure what's happened to Patrinicola, actually. That's bizarre.
He was in second.
He was in second. He has now since dropped down a fleet of places and now operating just in front of Antoine Berberic Martini, a massive position swapper. At this moment during the race, clearly something must have happened when we didn't see.
I have no idea what we missed.
Truly bizarre. But as of now, Longoni, there he is at the front of the order. Franca for company. Patrinicola now down into fourth regardless. It's Berberic Martini up into third. Alex Ryman in fifth. With a gap then of 2.7 to Lars Zanen down in sixth place. It is still an all-silver top six here in this classification. Now, this is what happened. Right, okay, so game on. This was a little bit of contact. And also, Franca very nearly going into the back as well. So this is riding on board with Longoni. He had the inside, tried to switch back. It looked like he was heavy on the brakes, was Patrinicola coming through turn one. So it was almost a sleeping policeman inside the outset of turn one. So, if anything, well dodged by Longoni. And equally, Franca now has followed him through after nearly getting caught himself. So now this is how the top two have fared off. So Patrinicola, who we thought had the race lead after that pit stop, now dropping back places as a result of that moment.
And guess who set just a new fastest lap? Paul Meyer in the Berger Motorsport number 7, making his way through the pack from 17th up to number 12. Remember, they were at the back of the pack at the end of lap 1. They were plumb last, making their way through to 12th.
Certainly we're 15 minutes now. We're inside the final 15 and 30. Little reminder of the category colour codes as well, folks. If you're new here to the GT Cup Europe Championship, silver, of course, in silver, ProAm in blue, and we've got green for AM. At the moment, it's H. de Mello who sits in the AM lead, but Dieter Schweppes chasing him down for that AM win. Looks like it could be playing into his hands as well at the moment, but this is the overall lead battle. Longoni currently taking them through up towards Kemmel, but in the wheel tracks, Luca Franca bidding to become a race winner for the second time this season, but needs to go up against his fellow title rivals here. Obviously, both these teams actually winning races back at Portimao, and around the outside there from Luca Franca, who now takes the race lead coming out of Les Combes and through Malmedy. The 91 screams on through, with Franca now deposited down in, well, shall I say Longoni deposited down into second place.
Championship leaders showing why they were in that position. What a wonderful move just at the top of Redondo Rouge. Absolutely wonderful. Takes the lead away from Ludovico Longini, and Simone Patrinicola will sense blood as well. He'll move out the outside towards the inn, and he will take up second position, and he loses another spot. Longini down to third now.
Yeah, unfortunately there for Longoni, a good recovery mission here for Patrinicola, or certainly a recovery gain here, moving into second place. Obviously now the next mission might be slightly more difficult. Luca Franca, of course, has been rapid since the start of the season, as has his teammate Rodriguez. Oh my goodness me, kicking up at the gravel there for Ludovico Longoni in the 22 Porsche. Certainly a moment that he's not going to want to see continue through the course of this race as they now fan out. There is Antoine Berbrick-Martini in the number 1 Ferrari. This was the move. A dazzling overtake around the outside here from Luca Franca, committing to the outside at the top of Les Combes, and then flying through towards Malmedy, kept all 4 wheels within track limits, and just rising those left side onto the curb just to guide the car in. And then eventually Simone Patrinicola down the inside at Pouon, relieving Longoni of that second place. So now it's a Ferrari back up into a P2 position and on a quest for P1 glory once again, but needs to try and close up to the back of Luca Franca, and that's going to be easier said than done.
Incredibly tight between the front three. You got 2 seconds only between Franca, Patrinicola and Longoni. That could be a race right to the very end. Here is Patrinicola right on the rear of the race leader, trying to regain the advantage that they unfortunately lost through the pit stops and at the incident at La Source. No fault of his own. He will find the slipstream up along the Kemmel Straight towards Les Combes, and can he find enough gap to just whip out to the left or to the right? Nice move behind as well. In 5th place, that's Alex Ryman. And the number 1 car, Berbrick-Martini.
A little bit of contact as well between them. Front nose meeting the rear spoiler on the Ferrari. A little bit of gravel kicked up as well as they make their way down through towards Rivage. But Patrinicola looking like the main danger for Luca Franca at the moment.
Absolutely, he's looking absolutely wonderful, isn't he? He knows what it feels like to be in the lead, but obviously chasing down the championship leader, his most success so far. Last warning for car number 8 on track limits. Don't worry, that is Privatello, currently lying 7th in AM, down in 18th. There's a replayer coming up inside. Move on the 44. That is the car of H. de Mello, taking it on the inside. Back to the front, though. Out to the side goes Patrinicola. That is a long way round. We've seen some trips round there in towards Les Combes, and they go once again to the left-hand side. Luca Franca holding on for the time being into the dust.
Yeah. Getting into the gravel once again. That's been kicked up numerous times across this weekend, but Luca Franca looking to kick up some delta to try and bridge that gap. Well, certainly try and break the bridge between him and Simone Patrinicola. Just a note on that overtake we saw at turn 1 between the AM of Dieter Schweppes and H. de Mello. Schweppes now with the AM lead off the back of that move coming through turn 1, so has managed to convert that 15-second handicap that they had served earlier on during the pit stop phase. They now, despite that advanced handicap, now sit as race leaders in the AM class category, as now once again Simone Patrinicola flashing all over the back of Luca Franca. There is, of course, Ludovico Longoni in 3rd place. As now the exit now coming out of the bus stop chicane with 10 minutes and 50 to go. Running on board with Longoni now this time. 3rd place on the show now is the battle for the leader ups. Patrinicola looking to now switch back on the escape coming out of turn 1 and might yet get the run coming up through Eau Rouge and Radion, but he might not even need it. Plenty of Ferrari power behind him as now it's going to be Simone Patrinicola who takes the race lead with 10 minutes and 20 to go, but this is far from over because it is wheel tracks. Certainly Luca Franca is going to be dangerous. Antoine Burbrick moving up into third place as well. Longoni now stripped to fourth, and here comes Alex Ryman who's going to come and join this fray. The podium battle still carries on. Franca looking to the inside but can't quite find an avenue here on Patrinicola. It's side by side though between Burbrick Martini and also Longoni who takes the off track. That is certainly not going to be justified, certainly not allowed, as Alex Ryman now cuts down his inside in a pursuit of P5 as they break away down in towards this next trial. Shall I say P4 as they break down into Rivage.
This is absolutely breathless. Fantastic stuff. 0.2 between the front two and nothing at all between the next ones. What a fantastic move by Alex Ryman from 5th into 4th position. Next in his sight is going to be Antoine Burbrick Martini, but behind him, Lars Zanin, Fabio Babini, Dieter Sveps, all incredibly close. This is fantastic stuff.
And Paul Meyer also being dragged along by H. de Mello as well. Of course, he's in a Pro-Am battle, is Paul Meyer. 0.7 away from H. de Mello. They're trying to close down to Fabio Babini, who has got the Pro-Am lead at the moment and is 1.1 in terms of the overall classification in behind Lars Zanin as it stands. There is Dieter Schweppes as well in the distance. He is pushing with all he's worth. There's Babini. Forget about that 1.1 gap. That is now stripped downwards. Longoni has lost a feast of places. Babini ahead of Zanin now, as recorded on our timing screen. 6th place as it stands as Paul Meyer jumps H. de Mello for 9th place on track. Truly an astonishing lap of racing thus far, and we've still got 8 minutes and 40 or so to go.
Yeah, so Paul Meyer in the Berger Motorsport was in 5th place when he took over for the Pro-Am competition. Took past Nunes, made past de Mello in his sights, Dieter Sveps, Lars Zanin, and maybe even Babini for the lead in competition.
That is absolutely stellar from Lodovico Longoni, losing out the place earlier on, so Alex Ryman takes it back straight away, coming through the bus stop chicane. But will he hang on to it? That's the big question as they cross the line to begin their next lap. Back again down the inside. A look from Alex Ryman. Babini licking his lips. Of course, a multi-year contender in the 24 Hours of Le Mans in the past. And has certainly risen to the very heights historically in the world of sports car racing. Now hovering all over the back of these silver runners. Alex Ryman, the last of them, currently sat down in that 5th place with Longoni overtaking him. Here comes Lars Zanin, looking to take on Babini now for a run up through towards Les Cobbs. Who's going to win the battle between those two? Of course, remember Zanin representing silver class. Babini, though, just showing him off and just defending the place, and retains P6 and the Pro-Am lead as it stands. But just look at this from Dieter Schweppes, current Am leader on the tail of this bunch, currently sat down in 8th place, and we know how fast Schweppes can be.
There has been a reprimand for car number 22, Longoni, overtaking a lapped car off track. I think that might have been at the bus stop chicane, but that warning has now disappeared, so no penalty as far as we know it, so maintaining 4th position. This is just incredible. Burbrick, Martini, Longoni and Ryman, and of course Babini in there too. There are 7 minutes left of this and nobody is giving an inch on the racetrack.
Do you know, Simone Patrinicola and neither his teammate, of course, that have come into this championship. Of course, Patrinicola and Luca De Marchi coming into this championship. No wins, no points even recorded thus far. Did not get anything out of Portimao, as now we see Babini at the inside of Alex Ryman straight away, wheel to wheel between them as they fight over and quarrel over 5th place. Ryman a little bit untidy coming out of the gravel. So now right on board now with Dieter Schweppes, who's got the best view in the house into what's unfolding in front of him here. Of course, he needs to try and dodge and weave past Lars Zanin, and that's easier said than done as the Am driver tries to coast closer to the back of Zanin, who of course is representing in silver class, but he has got a bottleneck in front of him made up of Babini and Alex Ryman, who are having their own fight at the moment, heading down in towards the bus stop. Late on the brakes here from Babini, who will have the better line on the second half of the bus stop, making contact, and Ryman is round.
Oh my goodness, Alex Ryman, the 47, running in the battle for fourth for what, 3 consecutive laps, makes his way back onto the track, but he is going to lose maybe 10 places in the field. That's an absolute disaster, going so well. Advantage to Paul Meyer, moves up to 7th place and looking at 2 spots behind the Pro-Am lead now, again from the back of the pack. Incredible.
He's not far away. Paul Meyer on the move. There's Babini, they're both in picture together now. And coming up through Eau Rouge and Radion. I know where many of you will be placing your money right now if you were to bet as to where the Pro-Am's going to come out. Certainly Babini locked into P5 overall as it stands, but your Pro-Am leader. There he is now moving to the centre of the track. Paul Meyer doing the same as he now looks to go side by side with Dieter Schweppes, and indeed these two are going to jostle for position, and Paul Meyer with ease, managing to sweep on through against a stellar Dieter Schweppes. That sends a clear message to the rest of the order now, and he's on the tail now this time of Lars Zanen. As they descend downhill, we're right on board with Dieter Schweppes. Heading in towards Rivage, Paul Meyer having dispatched him already, all over the back of Lars Zanen. Paul Meyer, of course, the pro in amongst the Pro-Am car that first witnessed Laura van den Hengel, despite the spin earlier on, regaining her composure, bringing the car into the pits. This was the moment. Of course, Babini with more than a car's width alongside. He was, in fact, almost ahead of the apex, but unfortunately for Alex Ryman, a little bit of contact. I personally think Babini gave him lots of room coming into the
incident that has been noted by our stewards. Also track limits warnings for Fabio Babini and Dieter Schweppes. That means nothing right now unless they do it a few more times. So just a little slap on the wrist. Be good, boys.
Yeah, obviously, I would imagine that it's a disappointing time for Alex Ryman, obviously just losing out there. But we'll return to the circuit no less. Nothing terminal there for the young man. Continue on his journey here in this race. 3 minutes and 50 or so to go. Plenty of time for an upset here. And Paul Meyer looking to deliver grandeur once again for Burgers Motorsport in pursuit of their back-to-back Pro-Am wins. And that would be 3 in their last 4 as well, which would be truly remarkable. Oh my goodness, and we've got a stopped car as well. That's Franvale Bugliotti in the 33 Porsche in the AM class, and that looks like the day is done for Franvale Bugliotti, and that could very easily lead to a safety car that could bring us out. And look at this from Paul Meyer, who is desperately on the attack, coming through turn 1 and up the inside of Lars Zanen, moves up into 6th place for Burgers Motorsport. Big move there for Paul Meyer, who now has no cars in between him or Fabio Babini, the current Pro-Am leader.
So Babini will be hoping, a big out wide. Babini will be hoping for a safety car now if that car is still on track. Hopefully it has been moved, because we want racing for the next 3 minutes. That will go over the line one more time as well, maybe even 2 more times around after this finish of this one. But Paul Meyer all over the back of Fabio Babini, 4 lead in Pro-Am, leading the way still. 2-second lead for Simone Patrinicola.
Yeah, Patrinicola doing a great job, has now advanced the gap to 2 seconds at the front of the field as we ride on board with Dieter Schweppes, who is still in the AM lead at the moment, so he's got no qualms his side. A little bit of a wider line taken by Lars Zanen there. I think just following suit with what Paul Meyer was trying to pull together, but Meyer starting to edge closer and closer to the back of Babini, who's being almost held up by Ludovico Longoni at the moment. So strap yourselves in, folks. 2 minutes and 15 to go as we descend through, and they move past the car at turn 10. Obviously just yellow flags erupting, so they know that there is a stopped car somewhere. So adequate warning given out as deemed by race control as we now watch as the 78 of Babini desperate to get past Ludovico Longoni, very much aware that Paul Meyer is on his tail. Wide of the line goes Longoni, now into the gravel. Babini looking threatening down the inside at Campus, but now as the exit out of Stavolo, there are greater problems here this time for Babini, the ever-experienced Porsche driver. Now hustling through out of Corbeil Paul Frere, is going to be joined by yet another Porsche in the wheel tracks in a pursuit over a Pro-Am glory here in race 2 in the GT Cup Europe Championship. Here comes now Paul Meyer. getting closer and closer, and will have no qualms in perhaps trying a move here, coming into the bus stop chicane, the heaviest braking zone on the circuit. He looks to the outside. Will he commit? No, not quite, but that's a sign of things to come, Ewan.
Yeah, goes for the switchback, not going to pull off this time. Going to have 2 more laps of racing, 2 more opportunities. As we know, these 19 turns over 7 kilometres, there's so many overtaking places. La Source is one, he's going to go down the outside. No, not this time. Again, look for the little switchback, cuts inside on Mabini. Again, this is for lead in Pro-Am. They're already the championship leaders.
Oh.
Go to the inside, get the touch, and Rubbing is racing against the old pit lane wall, and they'll go up towards La Source. It is Paul Meyer on the outside. Mabini takes the lead. Paul Meyer will take P1 in the Pro-Am competition. Next up the road, Ludovico Longini. But first of all, holding on to that, because Mabini will be coming back with force.
Yeah, 3 wide now on the run-up through towards Lake Com. A decisive moment just when he needed it most on the final lap from Paul Meyer. And I'm sure Laura van den Hengel is cheering him on now as Mabini loses 2 more places in the space of 1 single corner alone at Lake Com. Dieter Schweppes moves through, past him as well, and also gathering himself Lars Zanen back into 6th place as well. So Mabini dropping down into 8th with Schweppes up into 7th. Truly a bizarre race now as they race down through towards Pouan. There is Simone Patrinicola, a staunch performance after losing his lead place earlier on in the race just after the driver change period, but now consolidating a 1.8 second advantage over Portimao Race 1 winner Luca Franca.
It has been pure resilience from Luca De Marchi and Simone Patrinicola, yet to pick up points in this championship in 2025. However, they will jump up that as long as they navigate the last few corners, and it will be a full 15 points for the win. Wow, Luca Franca secure, it looks, in 2nd place, 3.6 seconds his advantage. And then still this race on, Longoni and Burbrick Martini, 1 second between them for the last step on the podium.
Yeah, Dieter Schweppes confirmed now P7 on our timing screen. And now, as we watch, as Simone Patrinicola makes his way around the final corners here at Spa, the young, well, certainly the Italian who has competed in Italian GT, was 3rd in that championship last season, also 1st in the endurance side in Pro-Am. When he arrives here at the GT Cup Europe, having not scoring at Portimao, he will this time a win here in race 2 in the GT Cup Europe Championship. Patrinicola with a victory alongside Luca De Marchi. A great win for the Ferrari lineup, with Luca Franca finishing in 2nd and Antoine Burbrick Martini, a full-on silver class podium overall. And Paul Meyer, what a last lap, what an overtake after Laura van den Hengel spun in the opening stages of the race. But take nothing away from her, she gave it absolutely everything in her drive. Dieter Schweppes finishing as an AM winner as well once again. Of course, former AM class champions looking to contest for that same prize once more, and that's a nice way to get it done here at Spa as race 2 concludes. But now Patrinicola making his way into Parc Ferme.
Where did 50 minutes just go, George?
It flew by, absolutely flew by you, and a remarkable performance. Well done, Mertel Motorsports, who have championed this series now. Still yet to obviously bring home the team's championship. Q1 Track Racing have dominated that since 2021. But what a result for Simone Patrinicola. They're absolutely delighted with that one, and I'm sure that Mario Grumt is thrilled with that result. Of course, team boss of the Mertel Motorsport team. And it's 2nd place for Franca and Rodriguez. They'll be delighted with that as well. Big delight as well for Antoine Burbrick Martini. He's celebrating a podium. And a great result for him as well. Of course, has not yet featured on the podium at all so far this season, after only achieving a 4-point finish in race 2 back at Portimao. Did not score any points in the opening race, and securing 3 as well in race 1. And this was another moment that was witnessed later on with the 21, the R01 racing car against the 54 before coming across the line, coming into a spin. That's Luigi Peroni with Cabell Perrion. But that certainly won't disrupt our lead contenders, our winners. They currently sit in Parc Ferme. An incredible result. Let's take you through the result from SPA-FRANCORCHAMPS Race 2. Simone Patrinicola, Luca De Marchi in first place, their first win of the season, with Luca Franca and Rodriguez in second as well. Antoine Burbrick Martini in third, Pietro Armani, Ludovico Longoni in fourth, Paul Meyer and Laura van den Hengel, Pro-Am winners, and fifth for the second time in succession this weekend. Fernandez and Zainan in sixth, Martins and Schweppes Am winners here in P7 overall. Scudiccio Babini, Pro-Am second, Nunez Verta, Pro-Am third in ninth, H. De Mello, Am second as well. Piccioli and Papi, they are Am third, Alex Ryman in 12th, Halsik Pintos, the McLaren Artura finishes 13th, Periant in Sescu, Ferraro 1 in 14th, Giorgi and Peroni in 15th, Pisani Zerbi in 16th, Luciano Privitello in 17th place, Fran Bell Bugliotti also out of the race after stopping on the outset of Jackie X. Trentin Lavati down in 19th as well, out of the race. And then we had a sea of cars also out. Rodrigo Gilliard after that big crash down in 21st. Giacomo Giabergia, Canizares Navarrete, Luvisi and Larini after starting on top. And then Robignoli, Attianesi, Longin, Zalens, as well as Leo Reinbeek. But we're standing by with an interview with Alfredo Filipponi, of course. But first and foremost, the top three. Third place for Mertel Motorsports. Ferrari, Antoine Burbrick Martini coming home in third, much to his delight. For the silver class driver, 91 of Luca Franca and of course Rodriguez back on the podium once more to continue their rampant run in the championship. But Simone Patrinicola, a first win for both him and Luca De Marchi, and they're standing by with Alfredo for an interview.
Well, we are with the winners, at least one of them, Simone Patrinicola. I guess Luca De Marchi is still coming. And Simone, what a race.
Nice one, very good. We really need it after a very bad weekend yesterday and also after Portimao, so it's a very big relief for us, for the team, and we believe that we can do like that in the upcoming events. So very good, positive. The race was very tough. I didn't have the radio on my stand. We had a problem, so I couldn't hear anything. I didn't know what I was doing. I was just pushing until the end, and you know, it was nice. Good feeling.
First win, time to celebrate now, and rejoining Luca at some point on the podium. Thank you.
I'm gonna wait for room, and we're gonna celebrate. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
So let's see how it unfolded as we went green. It was certainly a very helter-skelter start, certainly for the 63 Ferrari that got underway. It was a huge battle indeed as they made their way, or should I say the 53, they made its way up the inside. A very tough day at the office indeed for the Ferrari outfit of Matteo Lovisi, who had a tough enough day as to not start the race in race one at all. Laura van den Hengel going for a spin as well in the early stages, but they would later of course recover. And a big puncher blowout as well for Stinas Longin in the opening stages. They would bring their car to a grinding halt, and they would not be able to continue for Q1 track racing at their home race weekend. Simone Patrinicola would jump into the car after the driver change period. Of course, we then witnessed Ludovico Longoni just losing out to that race lead advantage, dropping then Patrinicola back down into third place. But he would eventually move his way back through the field, defending well and attacking against Antoine Burbrick Martini. And then, of course, we witnessed the fight unfold between Luca Franca as well as Ludovico Longoni coming in towards Lecom. This would also invite our eventual race winner Simone Patrinicola to then challenge. He would do so, coming down in towards Pouon, down the inside here of Ludovico Longoni, before then taking on Luca Franca for the race lead and subsequently the race win as well in the dying stages of the race. And after a tricky time at Portimao and also in race one here at Spa, it's victory for the first time in the GT Cup Europe Championship for Simone Patrinicola and also his teammate Luca De Marchi after a very strong stint in the opening stages of the race. This is how the championship now looks off the back of that. First place in the championship stall in the palm of Ian Rodriguez, Luca Franca on 43, 10 points clear of Ludovico Longoni and Pietro Armani in second. Paul Meyer in third with Laura van den Hengel after they achieve back-to-back Pro-Ams. That is 3 Pro-Am wins in 4 races. Unbelievable. Lars Zainan in fourth as well with Goncalo Fernandez after winning in race one this weekend. Leandro Martins, Dieter Schweppes winning in Am class at 22 points overall in the championship. So there we have it. Certainly a remarkable race to cap off the GT Cup Europe weekend. And now we head straight to the podium where the celebrations will begin. Antoine Burbrick Martini on the podium for the first time in the GT Cup Europe Championship. That is going to be something he will treasure, I'm sure. After not scoring in race 1 at Portimao, he's taken a couple of points finishes in both race 2 at Portimao and also in race 1 at Spa here this weekend. And on the second step of the podium, Luca Franca and Rodriguez still the championship leaders, despite only enough for second place here this time. But they'll be back, I'm sure, for yet more victories. But as Patrick Nicola and DeMarchi said, they are here for more as well. And now we stand by for the anthem. Well, as they now get set to receive their trophy presentations, Mario Grumt, of course, team boss of Mertel Motorsport Ferrari, on the right-hand side of your screen as well. Team boss of Mertel, the architect of this grand master plan of Mertel Motorsport to take on the GT Cup Europe Championship, also debuting this season in the International GT Open as Championship CEO of GT Sport. Jesus Pereira presents the third place and second place trophies, dispatched of course to our current championship leaders as well, before we then present the winning trophies, of course, to Simone Patrinicola and Luca DeMarchi, who lifted aloft a big victory for Mertel. And like Patrinicola said, I think there's more waiting in the wings for them, Ewan Dunlop.
Absolutely brilliant. I do love those trophies as well. Of course, a wrap-out of the track here at Spa-Francorchamps. I did get to touch one yesterday in the paddock, and they are as beautiful in person as they look in pictures right here. Great group photo at the top of the podium. That is race 2 done. Round 2 done, Spa-Francorchamps. Next up, where are we going next?
Yeah, well,
Hockenheim.
We're going to be going to Hockenheim next. It's a German circuit. It will be I'm sure one to look forward to for many fans of the GT Cup Europe, of course, as Mario Grumt dashes off. Doesn't want to be here for the champagne soaking that is taking place. Obviously, with it being the final race of the weekend, they can get those overalls as sticky as they want to. Obviously, not needing them now until next time when we go racing at Hockenheim Ring. But great work from Simone Patrinicola as we now await the Pro-Am podium. There's Laura van den Hengel and Paul Meyer after winning a second Pro-Am race this weekend. A fantastic final stint from Paul Meyer it was. Ewan. I mean,
first of all, what resilience from Laura van den Hengel after spinning off and getting it going again from the gravel, which is a rarity. Had she then picked up from 26th to 17th place on her own, courtesy a bit of a safety car landing in their favour. And then Meyer taking it from 17th to 5th overall. It is an astonishing stint.
Monstrous drive from Paul Meyer. And yeah, what a way to do it. I mean, that is a third Pro-Am success for this pairing in 4 races to kickstart the season. Third place, though, for the combination of Diego Nunes in the 56 that have entered the fold here this campaign. And that is, of course, Peter Furter as well. Diego Nunes standing tall on the third step of the podium. Fabio Babini lining up with Davide Scanicchio on the second step of the podium, but it's Laura van den Hengel, Paul Meyer back to the top, solidifying their place in the Pro-Am fight as GT Sport Championship CEO Jesus Pereira presents the third place trophies to Diego Nunes and Peter Furter. Absolutely delighted with that, I'm sure, as the second place trophies get presented. It was quite the moment to see both Paul Meyer and Fabio Babini come in side by side through Rouge and Radion to decide the Pro-Am victory. What a way to do it. And that will cap off a much better weekend for Berger's Motorsport. But incredible stuff indeed, folks. It's been an absolute privilege to have you with us here at Spa. We go again racing for Hockenheim Ring now in a few weeks' time. But from us, George Morgan and Ewan Dunlop, we'll wish you the best of, well, we'll see you next time. Goodbye.